Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you some of the best college football news, predictions, and analysis. Make sure to go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert and go visit our official website, thegridironexpert.com, where you can sign up for our weekly newsletter and also sign up for our expert picks. The links for all those things are in the description below, so do not miss out on any of the extra fun and any of the extra college football content. Well, guys, today we are bringing you our second game of the week between number 13 Wisconsin at number 3 Ohio State, a video that was decided by you guys, the fans. Just a few days ago, we put out a poll asking, should our second game of the week be Wisconsin at Ohio State or Notre Dame at Michigan? And by the time when we filmed this video, we had well over 100 votes on this poll. And Wisconsin at Ohio State won in blowout fashion, getting 72% of the votes. So the people have spoken, and we are honoring your wishes, talking about the Badgers facing off against the Buckeyes in a crucial Big Ten showdown. A game that still does have college football playoff implications, but kind of lost a little bit of its firepower, a little bit of its hype coming into this week, thanks to Wisconsin's 24-23 loss to Illinois last week. Wisconsin, what are you doing? What are you doing? But regardless, we are still here to break this game down because it's still a big one and still has the potential to be a great game despite Wisconsin's major upset loss in Week 8. Now, these two teams have not met at Ohio State since 2013. They did meet back in 2017, the most recent meeting. That was in the Big Ten championship game, one that Ohio State won 27-21. They met back in 2016, a game that Ohio State also won 30-23 in overtime. And back in 2013, the reason we're mentioning this is not only because that was the last time they met at Ohio State, but because when we break down what happened 6 years ago, I could almost see us being in for a repeat performance this Saturday. In 2013, Ohio State won by just one touchdown, won by 7 points. But they held Wisconsin to 104 rushing yards. That was a season low for them. Wisconsin allowed 192 rushing yards to the Buckeyes. After watching Wisconsin's performance against Illinois, after watching Ohio State play this entire season, could we be in for a repeat of what happened in 2013? Will Ohio State's defense shut down Jonathan Taylor in that potent rushing attack? And will J.K. Dobbins and Justin Fields run all over this Wisconsin defense? So we're going to break this down for you right now, starting on the offensive side of the ball. One that, for Wisconsin and Ohio State, is extremely balanced. Both teams are averaging well over 200 rushing yards per game and 200 passing yards per game. They're both very high-scoring offenses, Wisconsin averaging 39.7 points per game, Ohio State averaging 49.7 points per game. So a 10-point gap there, but still very high-powered and very high-scoring. But when you look at the two teams, despite looking at the stats and how similar they are, you can't help but think and wonder, it seems like there's a pretty big gap there. When you've watched Wisconsin play and you've watched Ohio State play, there almost seems to be a huge gap between the offensive talent on both sides of the ball. And yes, they both run different type of schemes. They have different type of skill players. But when you look at them, you just think, man, if I just threw it at you right now, you'd say, yeah, Ohio State has a way better offense than Wisconsin. But the stats may not indicate that, even though they are fairly similar. Now, of course, everybody is talking about Jonathan Taylor, the Heisman candidate running back for Wisconsin. But they're not talking about J.K. Dobbins. If you're basing the Heisman Trophy solely based on statistics, Jonathan Taylor really shouldn't be one of the front-running running backs. Everybody wants to talk about him, but J.K. Dobbins has 23 less carries than Jonathan Taylor, but only has 10 less yards than him. 23 less carries, 10 less yards. Jonathan Taylor has rushed for 957 yards this season. Dobbins has rushed for 947. Something to keep in mind for a guy that is, and I'm not dogging on Jonathan Taylor here. I'm just saying, look at what J.K. Dobbins is doing too on less carries than what Jonathan Taylor is getting. And we're not really giving him any recognition in the Heisman race or maybe even in the Big Ten period. Now, of course, Justin Fields and Ohio State, they own the quarterback edge. Wisconsin, I'll give it to them for now. They own the running game edge just because of Jonathan Taylor and because of their style. They're a run-first type of team. They want to pound the rock. They want to beat you on the ground. That's what they want to do. They've been running that for years now. But Ohio State absolutely owns that quarterback edge with Justin Fields. He's leading that offense with 49.7 points per game. He has thrown for over 1,400 yards, has 30 total touchdowns, 22 passing, 8 rushing, and just 1 interception. 1 interception. He's a Heisman candidate, and he takes very good care of the football. And that's going to be important in a game against such an elite defense in Wisconsin. Now, Jack Cohn for Wisconsin, he's not bad. Being a first-year starter for the Badgers, I know he had playing experience last year, but he was not necessarily the starter at the beginning of last year. So a first-year starter for Jack Cohn, he's not doing too bad. 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. But one of those interceptions was extremely costly coming last week against Illinois, an interception that set up the game-winning field goal for the Fighting Illini. So Jack Cohn not bad, but Justin Fields light years ahead of him, both as a dual-threat quarterback, both as a passer. You can't really say experience because Fields hasn't had that much experience compared to Cohn, but he sure does look like he has. Now, of course, the offenses, they're going to play a big role. They're going to be needed to score points. But the defense is what's going to steal the show in this game. The defense is what's going to be the primary focus for Ohio State and Wisconsin. Now, statistically, if you're looking at the numbers, Wisconsin is a little bit better than Ohio State. But regardless, these two teams and these two defenses are two of the best in the entire country. Wisconsin's allowing just 7.6 points per game. Ohio State's allowing 8 points per game. And it should be noted that Ohio State has beaten every single opponent by 24 points or more. And if I'm not mistaken, the most points they've allowed this season came in that season opener to Florida Atlantic, where Florida Atlantic only scored 24. So once again, Ohio State has only allowed 56 points per game, 24 of those coming in the season opener, allowing just 8 points per game. So talk about Wisconsin all you want, of course. I'm once again not dogging on the Badgers, but don't disregard what Ryan Day and the Buckeyes are doing on the defensive side of the football. Now, both teams are extremely dominant against the pass. So you might not see either team really air it out as much in this game. I mean, might have a couple explosive plays here and there, but this game will probably be won on the ground. Who's going to be able to break through on the ground and be able to pound the rock and maybe set up the play action where they can get big pass plays. But Wisconsin's only allowing 135.4 passing yards per game, and Ohio State's only allowing 136.3. So not a big gap there, not a big difference between the amount of yards allowed. Of course, each team is better against the run. Wisconsin only allowing 58.4 rushing yards per game, Ohio State allowing 92.7 rushing yards per game. So can Jonathan Taylor or J.K. Dobbins find any success against two of the more stingiest run defenses in the entire country? That is going to be a major key in this game. And we're going to break down the key for Wisconsin first. We know, like we've said, that Wisconsin's going to want to run the football. They're going to want to. They're going to try to impose their will against one of the best defenses in the country in Ohio State. But they cannot win this game. Wisconsin cannot win this game by just running the football. It's not possible. It's not possible to walk into Ohio State, the number 3 team in the country, facing off against this type of defense and expect to run all over them like they're South Florida in that season opener. It's not going to happen. So a key for Wisconsin is they have to be able to pass. And I'm not saying Jack Cohn has to go deep every play. I'm not saying Jack Cohn has to be Trevor Lawrence, has to be Joe Burrow, has to be Tua Tagovailoa. He just has to be good enough. He's got to be smart with the football. Can't throw a costly interception like he did against Illinois. He's got to put the ball in the right places for these receivers. No overthrown balls, no underthrown balls. You're hitting it towards the sideline. Put it in the position where your receivers can make a play. You don't have to be spectacular. You just have to be good enough to pick up crucial third down conversions. You have to be able to get the job done. Take a slight edge off of Jonathan Taylor, who once again cannot do everything by himself and certainly can't do it by himself in this game. If Wisconsin becomes one-dimensional, whether that's solely passing because Ohio State has done such a good job against the run, or solely running because Ohio State has done very well against the pass. If Wisconsin becomes one-dimensional, it is an automatic loss for the Badgers. They have to find some balance, and we mentioned they're one of the more balanced teams in the country, but they have to find some balance, and they have to be successful with that balanced offense to come on the road and beat Ohio State. Secondly, they have to be creative. Sticking on the offensive side of the ball, they've got to be creative. I'm not saying come out there and pull stuff out of your bag of tricks. Let's run some, double reverses, some half pipe. I'm not saying you have to do that. And become creative. Don't just do, handoffs up the middle to Jonathan Taylor 2 times and, now it's 3rd and 8. Now everybody in the stadium knows that you're going to be throwing the football. You've got to be able to mix up your play calls. Keep Ohio State on their toes. If you're predictable, if you're not creative, if you don't utilize the entire talent you have on your team, once again, it's going to be a bloody game for Wisconsin, an easy win for Ohio State. And then finally, they have to prevent turnovers. And of course, that's something that I feel like we say in every single Game of the Week video, something that you should say to every team that faces off in a college football matchup, but it's something that has to be addressed. And some teams are better at it more so than others. But Wisconsin turned the ball over 3 times last week against Illinois. 2 of those turnovers, a major reason for Illinois coming back. Jonathan Taylor fumbled deep in Fighting Illini territory. Illinois got a touchdown out of that to cut the lead to 2. Jack Cohen threw an interception, set up the game-winning field goal for Illinois to win the game. So 2 turnovers proved very, very costly for the Badgers. When they faced off against Northwestern, who has a pretty good defense, but a team that Ohio State beat 52-3, Wisconsin only won that game 24-15. They had 2 turnovers in that one and relied more on defensive touchdowns in that game than their offense. And that game, of course, was played at Camp Randall Stadium against an abysmal Northwestern offense. And I hate to break it to you, Badger fans, but this Ohio State offense is not that Northwestern offense. They're way, way better. Way, way better. I know that was a while ago. A win's a win's a win. You take what you can get. But they can't have a similar performance. They struggled against Northwestern. They lost to Illinois. They look great against Michigan, but outside of that, what have we really seen from Wisconsin? Look great against Michigan, look great against Michigan State, 38-0. Once again, another team in Michigan State that doesn't have that potent of an offense. Now, for Ohio State, home field advantage is going to play a huge role in this one, no doubt. You know how big I am on home field advantage. You know how big of an importance I think it is. Because I do believe in that 12th man. I do believe that home field advantage can be a huge boost for any team, especially in a matchup like this. So Ohio State's already got a slight edge there just because of the home field advantage. Their key to the game might be a shock to some, stop Jonathan Taylor. Even though they have one of the better rushing defenses in the entire country, even though Jonathan Taylor hasn't done great against some of the more elite defenses, he still has the capability to break out for that explosive play. On a short yardage situation for him, instead of getting 2 yards that he needs for breaking out for a 30-yard gain. For catching a screen pass and taking it 75 yards to the house. Jonathan Taylor has that explosive play ability that Ohio State has to stop. Keep him contained. Keep him bottled up. Do not let him out of your sight. Do not let him get yards after contact. Bottle Jonathan Taylor up. Don't let him move. Secondly, for Ohio State, create pressure on Jack Cohen. He's only thrown 2 interceptions, as we mentioned, but Ohio State's pass rush, guys, this season has been one of the better in the Big Ten. If you don't believe me, go watch the film. They've been extremely talented with their pass rush, and going up against a guy in Jack Cohen is probably going up against his toughest environment yet, a loud stadium in Columbus, Ohio. If Ohio State can get pressure on him early and often, it's going to be a long day for this Wisconsin offense because they're not going to be able to pass. They're going to rely on the run. What does that mean? They're one-dimensional. What did we say? If Wisconsin's one-dimensional, they lose. Get pressure on Jack Cohen early and often. And if Ohio State can continuously force 3-and-outs, if they can get a lot of 3-and-outs on this Wisconsin offense, then that's going to wear down the Wisconsin defense. If they prevent that Wisconsin defense from getting breaks, quick 3-and-out. Ohio State's offense is back on the field. The defense is back out there. And then Ohio State takes a long, methodical drive. Or even if they don't, even if they just have a couple big explosive plays here and there, it will wear down that Wisconsin defense. So force some quick 3-and-outs. Create some pressure. Don't let Wisconsin, with their solid run game, own the time of possession and get down there and take long, methodical drives and then walk away with points, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal. So that's the key for Ohio State. And with this defense from the Buckeyes, I wholeheartedly believe that they can do it. This is a major game for Wisconsin because their college football playoff and Big Ten title hopes are not done. A loss here would end it, yes. It's also going to be interesting to see how Wisconsin responds. Are they going to be hung over after that devastating loss, or are they going to come out hungry with something to prove, to show that last week was not the real Wisconsin team, that they're better than that? That remains to be seen. Will Paul Chryst have his team ready to go? I do believe they're going to be ready to go, but they're not going to be ready to go enough to come on the road and steal a win from a Buckeyes team that I believe certainly deserves a number 3 team in the nation, but could be the number 1 team in the nation. They're the most complete team in the country. They've looked unstoppable over the course of the season, and I expect nothing less in a game against the Badgers. So guys, thank you for watching us here on YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Expert. Check out the official website, thegridironexpert.com. Sign up for the weekly newsletter and sign up for the expert picks. And as always, thank you for watching. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.